Hello, AMC Jedi Council. It is episode 3. I'm Christian Harloff, aka Darth Harloff, and this is the show where we talk about everything in the Star Wars Canon universe. That's right, everything that connects back to the movies. We talk about it. As always, I have my esteemed council with me. Starting to my right is the lovely Queen Amidala. How are you, Queen?
Thank you, Darth Harloff. Great to be on the council.
Okay, there's the voice. I was waiting for it. She's back in action. And joining us always is the editor-in-chief at AMC Movie Talk. He is Obi-John Kenobi, John Campea. What's up, man?
Hey, guys. Good to be back. Episode 3, ready to go.
Ready to go. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. And just to give everybody the rundown, the first thing that we get into here are the Star Wars news stories. Everything in the Star Wars universe, in the movie world, we talk about it. We're going to do something a little different this week. This week, the Queen is going to read the stories, tell us what's going on, and then we are going to comment it as a full council. So, Queen, take us away.
I will not let my people suffer. Alrighty, first in the news. You spat out your drink. That's fantastic. Another name has been announced for the first Star Wars spin-off, Rogue One, to star alongside Felicity Jones. The actor is Ben Mendelsohn. He's an Aussie. He's rumoured to be a lead in the movie. Who do you think that Ben Mendelsohn could play in Rogue One? Christian.
Listen, I love Ben Mendelsohn. And it's just, we've said this every time on this show when it comes to we said it on Movie Talk, anytime it comes to casting, what they're doing right now in both the Star Wars universe and the Marvel universe, they're going after quality talent. This guy is an absolute continuation of that. He's great in everything he is. As far as who he's going to be, I would assume he fits an an Imperial Guard to me, or a commander most, because if not, he's always playing a guy that usually swindles people or pulls the you didn't see that coming, but you did because he got cast in the role. So I hope that he's more on the Imperial side, on the Empire. But I love this casting. But John, how are you feeling about it?
The casting is good. It's a little bit difficult. You know, we often say when people say, "Hey, what would you think about this guy playing that guy?" It's like, well, you know, until we know, like people say, what do you think of Jared Leto playing the Joker? Well, until we really know what kind of Joker they're going for, it's hard to really say. And so it's difficult to say how enthusiastic I am about him joining the project when we don't know who he's playing. I mean, that's the thing. So it's hard for me to picture. But it is never a mistake to add talent. And what they've done here is they've added another layer of talent to it. So, I mean, you can't help but be at least a little bit enthusiastic for it.
And it's the thing, again, where they're not doing these huge names. I mean, this isn't a household name by any stretch, but he's been around for a very long time and he's very, very good at what he does. Miley, I think I had a little bit quit with you. Ben Mendelsohn. He's just got a little bit of a lisp in there. And I wonder what kind of Sith could he play? Because he can't say Sith.
Oh, stop it! He's great. This guy, I love. And yes, you're right. Sometimes that might take you out of it with his list, but to me, it doesn't. I think he's one of these guys that he's a character actor to me that needs to be. These are the type of actors they should be getting in these movies because it won't be so distracting. They'll recognize him first. Go, oh yeah, I know that guy.
He's the guy from that thing.
Yep. And then when you say, oh, but he was in Dark Knight Rises, he was in Place Beyond the Pines, he was in this, and you go, oh yeah, he elevates every scene that he's in. So I think it's great.
And Aussie pride. He's Australian.
Yeah.
So I've got his back 100%.
Well, we'll let that one go.
All right, Maud, what's next?
All right, to kick off the rumour mill, there's every chance that we may see a live-action Star Wars TV series hit the small screen, but not until after Episode 9 has been released. Christian, do you think there's any weight behind this rumour?
I do. And before we go any further, I'd like to say that, you know, when we put together these notes for all these stories, Star Wars 7 News finds all the stories and everything that's going on, and that was actually, you know, part of their graphic that they put there. So thank you to Star Wars 7 News for putting together all these wonderful stories. And this is where I first saw this one. The rumor of the television show has been going around for a very long time. They remember that when Clone Wars, the animated series, was put together, the live action series was also put together. And in that book, John, that we talk about every week, in the How Star Wars Conquered the Universe, they talk about how George Lucas was working with Ronald Moore, who of course did the Battlestar Galactica series, and they were going off of that type of vibe and that rhythm. And there was like 120 scripts that they had done up until that point.
Wow.
Something along those lines. Yeah. So it doesn't...
Much of it was conceptual, but still, it was they put in a lot of work on this thing.
A lot of work, and they were going to launch it, but there was something with budgets, and then the Disney deal came about. I don't think those particular stories versions of them might happen. What I want to see, if it is a television series, is either sell it to HBO, sell it to Showtime, sell it to AMC, sell it to Netflix. Because if you look at the difference, because the ABC is Disney. and you look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I know it's gotten better. I'm not the biggest fan. So too many handcuffs there. I would like to see it, and the Daredevil trailer shows that there's going to, I haven't seen the show yet, but it looks like there's going to be a lot more grit, a lot more less constrictions. So if they can go down that route, I'm very curious to see what time period and where they would go. But Maude, how do you feel about the TV series?
Oh, if it's like Battlestar Galactica, sign me up. I enjoyed that so much. And that was one of the only times where I really like the action married to the political elements of it. And they did a really good job with that. And that's, in essence, what Star Wars is all about, trying to have the balance between those two and it be a lot of fun. I have a problem with any kind of live action TV news now because my heart has already been broken. Netflix is apparently doing a live action Zelda series. And then 2 weeks later, the head of Nintendo was like, news to me. And it's like, don't toy with my emotions like that. And I think that just doing this to me as well. It's just like, oh, it's your favorite thing? Yeah, we'll do the best thing ever. Psych. And it's just too far away to get caught up on.
John, do you think that A, this is going to happen, and B, would you want it to happen?
You know, it's funny because when you first heard, I believe the project, what it was called, I think it was Underworld. I think it was Star Wars Underworld was going to be called. And I believe that long gestating video game, or Star Wars 1313, I think that was supposed to be tied into that Underworld series. Do I think this is going to happen? Probably not. I don't think it will. But what I more strongly feel about is I don't want this to happen.
Why not?
I think this is a terrible idea.
How come?
Because TV ruins everything.
In the Netflix space?
I think when they're trying to tie these things into movie universes as well, I've talked about this for a long time when we're talking about comic book films, that I do not like them trying this really haphazard, forced way of trying to connect the television world with the movie world. It does not work. It stifles creativity. It kills continuity. It puts creative handcuffs on both the people running the TV shows and the movies. I don't want to see a watered down Star Wars. I got those already. They were called the prequels. I don't want to see watered down Star Wars where creative hands are tied and stuff like that. Now, we can only do certain things if they fall into continuity with the movies and all that kind of stuff. I think, look, I know what our first reaction to Star Wars fans is to be anything with Star Wars and I'm in. I have become, in my much older age, a lot more selective because I've been through the drought, folks. I've seen what can happen with it. I think they're overextending themselves. I think it's just an overall horrible, terrible idea. And this is one of those rare situations where I would go, there is nothing anybody can say that'll change my mind.
I'm going to go on the other side of that because here's the first of all, this thing isn't going to come out until after episode 8.
9.
After episode
it's
9.
all the trilogy.
So Rebels will already be done by then. There'll be no other series, and we don't know. First of all, we don't know the events of what's going to happen in 7 and 8 and 9 yet. We don't know if the series would take place after that, during it. We don't know if this thing could take place in the Old Republic. We don't know where. That's the difference between, I think, Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, is because Star Wars can cover so many different years and introduce you to so many new characters. Because you made a great point with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Movie Talk, is that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they have to throw in, but Captain America, and everybody gets excited. And then Thor. Yeah. You don't have to do that in Star Wars, because in Star Wars, look, if there's a mention of Vader and you throw one episode of Vader in there, great. It's almost like what they've done in Rebels. They introduced you to these brand new characters in Kanan and Hera and all these new characters up top, that when you started to accept them, it just became cool when Tarkin and those guys came in and you didn't rely on them. And I believe that I do have confidence in the story group right now that they're releasing stuff in the way that they know is going to further their universe and not just a timeline, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. focuses on a timeline. This is all over the galaxy here. So between thousands of years before, 20 years, 100 years. I love the idea of it. But
your faith in the story group is your weakness.
We'll see. That can't be proven yet.
There will be nobody happier to be wrong than me if they do this and it turns out to be good and it turns out to be great. But I'm telling you, like, a lot of people like to go, my all-time favorite television series is Ronald Moore's Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. Bar none, it is my all-time favorite television series. And
so
a lot
say
of people, so say we all. And which is kind of funny because I just saw Captain Adama or Admiral Adama on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So they're tying the universes together there. But the thing is that for every Battlestar Galactica, there's 75 other shows that are miserable failures.
Yes.
And this is going to be one of them. I'm telling
man,
you, and Star Wars fans are going to have a rude awakening when they get into a television series that's got a $2.5 million budget per episode.
They're talking 5.
They're
and that's
talking
what Game
about
of Thrones
that now,
has.
But that is 6 years away. I'm telling you, this is a disaster way to. Star Wars fans should not want this.
I disagree.
I want you guys to have lightsabers in your hands right now.
It's true.
This is awesome. I think Disney wants to make a lot of money from Star Wars.
Yes.
They purchased it.
Yeah.
It's to make a lot of money, and they will make a lot of money. And if there's, they don't have a live action Star Wars show yet. They love putting out shows. We've seen Clone Wars. We've seen Rebels. Hey, they're going to do a Lego catch up little series for Disney as well. But they're all on the kids network. They don't really have anything that's going to whet the appetite of the adult fan.
Right.
So I think that there is room for it. It's a no-brainer. It's going to happen after the movie so they can focus all their attention onto it. It's probably going to happen. And if it's not as good as Battlestar Galactica, I will...
If it's on the ABC, if they announce that it's going to be on ABC, I'm going to start to go towards your side. But if they announce that it's on either Netflix, HBO, or one of those venues that I mentioned, I'm going to be excited and very optimistic for this because I think that there's a lot of possibilities that they could explore with brand new characters that they could introduce later on. But all right, we moved on. We talked a lot about the TV series. Maude, we have some more Star Wars news.
Certainly do. Oscar Isaac has confirmed that what we pretty much already know. He's going to be back for episode 8. What does this mean though? Well, his character Poe Dameron.
Sounds like a headache relief pill.
Yeah.
Would you like some Poe Dameron?
It really affects he won't die basically in the first one, and of course not here. I think that he is a huge investment. He's on his climbing. So yeah, it's a no-brainer that they're going to keep him on. But there you go. What do you think about the news that Oscar Isaac has kind of let slip? He's back for the second.
I like it because Oscar is such a phenomenal talent. I mean, so that's good news right there. But what else this does is that really it reaffirms what we've been hearing for a very long time. As much as all of us are very excited that Harrison Ford's coming back and Mark Hamill's coming back and Carrie Fisher's coming back, these new films are going to focus, from everything that we understand, and who knows, we could be wrong, but from everything that we understand, these new films are focusing on a new generation. They're focusing on the new characters. Those will be the prime focus will be these new characters. And hearing about him coming back, already signed up for 8, it kind of, while it doesn't verify, it adds a little more credence to that whole stuff that we've been hearing, that this is going to be about them. This is not going to be about Han. You still think Han's going to die in episode 7, which you may very well be right. But it just kind of gives more credence to that whole thing, that this is about them, not about the original crew.
Yeah, I agree. And the way that this kind of happened, too, was that the reporter, I guess, caught him on an Ex Machina day where he was tired or whatever, too. And he's like, so are you excited to be working with Rian Johnson in episode 8? He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And oops, he wasn't supposed to say it. And then he tried to backtrack later on. But, I mean, you knew he was coming back. You knew they signed him up. And there was an article, I think it was the Hollywood Reporter, I'm not sure, where they did this whole they talked to a couple of agents who put their clients in Star Wars in general. Like they had talked about how Natalie Portman was in it and didn't help her career, and then there was two sides of it. There was a negative side of the agent and then the positive side. And the negative said, well, it hasn't really furthered many careers besides like Han Solo and a few other people here and there. Harrison Ford. And then you talk about these guys who the agents were like, look, this is a different time. Back then, from who was handling it to who's handling it now, and the way that they're getting people, they're gonna sign up for a deal. It's very similar to what they do with Marvel, and you sign guys for the franchises for a long time. We don't know. I don't think this is the case, but we don't know that Rogue One is not about him. We don't know that. He signed on for a bunch of movies. Maybe Poe Dameron shows up in Rogue One. I happen to think that it's going to be the time period between 3 and 4. But the point is, if they want him in that movie, they sign him enough that they can get him. But
I can't wait for Poe puns. Poe, my God.
Poe puns?
This is going to be so good. But he is going to be Poe from now on, which is, it's a bit of a double-edged sword there because he is so incredible. Every movie that he touches turns to gold. His movie, the first one that we really, really saw him shine, he picks up a guitar, he can sing, he can act, he can do it all.
Davis, yeah.
That's it. And it was up for an award, I believe.
He should have been nominated. He wasn't, but people were yelling that he should have, for sure. Yeah, and he's another guy, though, like you said before with Ben Mendelsohn, he's been around for a bit, but he's most recently, the difference between like Ben Mendelsohn, who is a guy who, character actor, you recognize him. Oscar Isaac is now a star. He's going to be, especially after this role.
He's going to know, especially after X-Men. He's going to be Apocalypse, isn't he?
Oh yeah, is he?
Oh, I believe Oscar Isaacs is.
Oh,
I will fact
Oscar
check
Isaac
that right
is.
now, yes.
Oh wow, okay, that is.
I'm ready. I will say if
That's
I'm wrong,
right.
but I'm ready for high fives.
Yeah,
and
right. Because at
rants.
one point Tom Hardy was rumored, and then they said him. Right? Is that the case?
You let me know if
I don't know, but regardless,
it is. He
it
is.
is.
He
yeah,
is. Yeah, that's right. I
So-
totally forgot about that.
Yeah, you're right. The Queen taking it downtown, but I think that he's. You knew he was going to be in this. I'm glad that he is. He's going to continue throughout the whole trilogy. Last week we speculated whether or not it was maybe him that does the Sith turn, and it's his story combined with Boyega. You know,
Oh, right.
like Boyega to me, I think is going to be the main goodie, and he could be a bad guy. You never know.
That was an interesting conversation you talked about with the agents on the opposite sides. Hey, again, these movies you can kill your career, blah blah, and it's like, no, not really. What stands out to me when you look at the history of that kind of stuff is it strains out who had talent. Ewan McGregor is a bona fide actor. He's great. And therefore he was able to be in Star Wars and emerge out the other side and still do a number of significant films.
They brought him up, though. They brought up him and Natalie Portman because
Right.
they said Natalie Portman couldn't get roles for a little bit because of it. And they said that he lost, probably a good thing. What did he lose? He lost some role that he was up for. I think, no, he lost The Beach. He was supposed to be in The Beach and around the same
it's,
time.
all good things.
Dodged
He
a
lost to
bullet.
Leonardo DiCaprio. He was going to, guess what? Newsflash. He was going to lose
Right.
that role to Leonardo DiCaprio anyway.
Right.
With Natalie Portman, who's to say look, she's an Academy Award winner. Who's to say, she would have exploded faster? No. What the facts that we have that isn't speculation is that she was in Star Wars and she went on to have a very strong and solid career
Right.
with award stuff. You look at Harrison Ford, clearly like one of the great actors of our generation, right? And he went on. Mark Hamill will tell you himself he's not the strongest thespian. He wasn't able to generate a lot after that. Carrie Fisher never was the strongest actress, wasn't able to generate a lot of stuff after that. All I think, though, is that Star Wars becomes that strain that separates the wheat and the chaff. And you see the people who really did have a lot of talent that could have a career standing on their own outside of Star Wars, they wanted to have careers outside of Star Wars. And those that didn't. And I don't think it's any more complicated than that, although it might be.
Maud, how do you feel about it?
I was just thinking that I was going to make a bad joke, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, Liam Neeson's having a bit of trouble these days.
Right.
That just sounded funny in my head. What do I think about...
Well, I just think that,
Story of my life.
because Mark Hamill, you mentioned Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, even those guys, agreeing with your point here, because even though maybe they didn't have the best acting career, they had very lucrative careers because Mark
because
Hamill
of
is
who they
like an
are.
A-list voice
Yes.
actor. And how
What
do
a
you think he
great
got a lot of
joker.
those gigs and got into the door? Of
Because
course
he's
we'll have Luke
Luke
Skywalker in here.
yeah.
And same thing with Carrie Fisher, who was a very prolific author and has written
Stand-up
some
as well.
stand-up and great movies. And she's had some problems off set,
Who hasn't?
But but that could also be a reason why she didn't have the film career. She's a very capable actress. So I didn't necessarily agree with the article in general, but I did respect the points. Okay, those are the story. No, that's not all of them. We have a couple
there's
more
not.
left. Yeah, we have a couple left.
Quickly moving through the last three stories.
three left. Yeah.
Disney will not promote Star Wars Rogue One until after the release of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation in an effort to prevent confusion. It's all about the Rogue, peeps.
Did they actually said because we don't want people to confuse it with
That's what the
Rogue
article's
Nation?
slating.
Yeah, I think the article is kind of it's from Slash Film that they're saying that just a few days ago it reports that Paramount registered the Rogue Nation title months ago, but that Disney did no such thing with its Star Wars film. That being the case, Paramount might have tried to block the use of that title, but instead a deal was struck.
So they might have done this, so they don't really know.
Right, they don't really know.
Here's the thing to me: they shouldn't be holding back on marketing Rogue One, not because there's another movie called Rogue Nation, but because Rogue One is a long time away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I don't see. Look, if the people at Disney, who are incredibly smart and intelligent, they would be idiots if they think, the best thing for our movies is to start marketing now, but we better not because there's another movie coming out that has the word Rogue in it,
Right.
and our audience is too stupid to know the difference between the two. I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
I think they know. Star Wars audience, while we are geeky, most of us virgins, we are not stupid. We are not stupid. And I think Disney knows that we're not stupid. We're not going to confuse. Wait a minute, Tom Cruise is in Star Wars?
Right.
No, there's none
It's
of us
just
doing that.
legality stuff. That's all. It's all it is. It's just a matter of them saying, "Look," and it's like they said. They speculated whether or not a deal was struck. It probably was, and they said, "Okay."
Oh, wait. So you're suggesting, because maybe I'm seeing it the wrong way. You're suggesting that it was actually Paramount that had the issue because they didn't want.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't want Rogue Nation being interfered with.
Correct. That's what I think. But that's not. But they kind of. But they also.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. It to me because it just says that Paramount registered the title of Rogue Nation a while ago, and then after Star Wars goes, hey, guess what the new title is? And they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, well, we've been working on this for a long time, and now you're squashing it with the new Star Wars film?
And not only that is the fact that they moved away from their December date because Episode 7 was there, so they got out of the way of Star Wars, and now they have another Rogue title. I get it, and they probably had a deal and said, "Can you guys just hold off for a little bit? Our movie comes out in July. What is it? July? It comes out in July." Then have a blast. And they're like, okay, it doesn't matter because we still have to focus on Episode 7 anyway. You don't need to put that much into it.
Disney should rename it and call it Star Wars Rogue One Nation.
Rogue One Nation.
That's what they should name it right now and start pumping it right now.
I'd love to cut to the boardroom where everyone's just there going, Star Wars. Why? Star Wars again.
Right. And Tom Cruise apparently had a cameo also, so maybe he wears the Rogue
remember those
One.
rumors?
Yeah, so silly.
How ridiculous were
If
those?
he showed up, it'd be the same way that we're going to talk about another possible cameo in there in a second, but it's like he would probably have a hood over his head with an alien snout. You would never know it was him in the first place. Okay, Maud, what do we got next?
Well, when talking about writing Star Trek 3, Simon Pegg also revealed what it was like visiting the set of The Force Awakens. He met BB-8, brought his daughter on set. Now, Simon Pegg's the biggest nerd out there. He's a huge Star Wars fan. He has like the JJ effect where his favorite movie and his life is Star Wars, but Star Trek just happened to come along and they're like, I'll take it because Star Wars is never going to happen. And now it has. It's like,
Right.
So those two are obviously close, working on Star Trek together. But let's talk about, Christian, the rest of the story, about the set of Force Awakens through the eyes of the biggest nerd in the world.
Well, I love the picture. If you see the little picture that Ray put there, that also came from the Star Wars 7 news site, but that was a picture they have from the after party of The Force Awakens.
Right. Yeah.
Now, there was many set visits that people that they said that Daniel Craig had a set visit. They said Peter Jackson had a set visit. None of those guys, or Tom Cruise had a set visit. None of those guys were at the after party. He was. They got a picture of him there as well. Now that doesn't necessarily mean he's in the movie. It also could mean that they're really good friends and it's a Star Wars party and he wanted to be there. But I think the example I was just given with Tom Cruise is exactly what they're going to do with Simon Pegg. He is going to be in the movie, even though his quote was something along the lines of, "Oh, I would never be in. I'm probably not going to be in a Star Wars movie because the second people see my face, they're going to go, oh, it's Simon Pegg." But I think that was a play on words to say that's why I'm going to be dressed as an alien, and that's why I'll probably have on in a cantina or something too, and. Because, like you said, Maud, this guy is a diehard Star Wars fan. Yeah. Somewhere or another, he wants to be in it. He's
a Rodian.
I reckon.
Yeah, he's going to be a Rodian at the bar, being like, "Well, order another one."
Right, and then he lets you know, like during press, "Oh, that was me."
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and he probably wind up doing something funny, or he'd be like, "I wonder if that was him." So it's almost like when Howard the Duck was in the cameo. It was in the post credits for Guardians. You're like, "Where is he? Where is he? Where is he?" That's what I think. But John, do you think he's going to be in it at all?
No, I don't. I don't think he's going to be in it. I think he would really like to be, and if he is, I think it'd be great. I don't think you're going to be able to see this, but I got to show this picture. This I better see it. That's me and Simon Pegg.
Okay.
This is actually the night.
That's a name drop.
Here's the thing. Here's the relevance of this. Me and Simon, Simon showed up to a party I was throwing in Santa Monica. This picture was actually taken the night I met my wife.
Aww.
Yeah, this picture was actually taken the night I met my wife. And as we stood at the bar talking, what do you think we talked about?
Star Trek.
We talked about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And this is before Star Trek, actually. Right. This is going back a number of years. And we talked about Star Wars. And man, did this guy's hatred of the prequels.
He, in this article, he takes a shot.
Does he in the article?
He takes a shot in the article.
To his core.
Yeah.
He wants to burn those things from existence.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the prequels, whatever. He has like a maniacal, deep.
He's very open about it too. Like even in that movie he did, Paul, with there's shots on the prequels throughout the whole
lots
thing.
of shots at it there. Like I swear, I think somebody dressed as Jar Jar Binks like abused him as a child or something like that.
He hates it that much.
It's that harsh.
Wow.
But I just don't think the stars align for them to do that or for him to be in it. I would love it. If it was, it's going to be like what you were saying. You know how Nathan Fillion had the cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Right.
Thing is, nobody knew it was Nathan Fillion. It was the big alien in the prison who was talking about prison raping Star-Lord.
Right.
He says, "I'm going to lather you up." That was actually Nathan Fillion. Right. If he is in it, I have a feeling it's going to be a courtesy cameo, something like that. He's going to be Royd in. He's going to be something along those lines.
But you don't think it's going to happen at all?
I don't think it will, but I'd be totally happy if it did. I just don't think they're going to make it.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Think so?
100%. It's the Greg Grunberg effect. They, JJ and Greg were high school or college friends, and anything that JJ does, Greg's like, can I do it? Yep, absolutely. You know, come on set next week. And that's why Greg's going to be in Star Wars. It's the same thing. Simon and JJ are tight as, and as soon as it was announced that JJ was going to do Star Wars, you can bet that Simon was on that phone going, dude, please, I want to be an Ewok.
You think he pulled a Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Because I know this because I would do that. That's the first phone call I would make if I could get on Star Wars in any capacity.
Well, so would I, but I'm pathetic.
But he's a diehard.
I mean, he made that the spoof where he was C-3PO and Nick
Right.
Frost, his best friend, was R2 in the desert. That was so funny.
And what I also, going away from just the fact that he's going to be in it, what I also loved about this interview and this article and what he was talking about with Star Wars. Now, we talked about this last week, how people are visiting and said, like, oh, it's the best. And we were talking about Oscar Isaac and Donald Gleason talking about how they loved it so much and the energy on it. But he's another guy who was like, look, the energy on the set, you feel like this is where he took the shot at the prequel, by the way. He's like, it will make you kind of forget about what we went through or what the last film 16 years ago did not do. This is going to do it because being on set, and this is a guy who's not in the movie right now. Yeah. So it's saying you feel that energy, you can just tell that everyone who's involved in this is having fun making it and knows how important it is. That gives me confidence, because even if he does have a cameo, this is a guy who does not have anything invested in a work standpoint, but as a fan standpoint, he has a lot invested, and to hear that from him,
that's what gives it his credibility. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay, Maud, what's next?
And the final piece of news is that the Star Wars Celebration schedule has been announced. I know this because Christian called me. He then emailed his schedule preferences, and then he had the rundown and in order, and then he called me again to talk about it. So obviously someone at this table is very excited about the schedule for Celebration.
Well, it's called Celebration, and you celebrate Star Wars, and it is the first time, I think, I don't know if it's ever that it's been in LA. I don't know if that necessarily is the case, but it's the first celebration with the year the movie is coming out, because I don't think it started until like 2006 or right after Sith.
Did the one in Indianapolis not happen the same year Sith was coming out?
It either came out that year or the year after. I thought it was the year after.
I could be wrong. Totally,
but it's either the first or second year. I mean, since there hasn't been that much excitement, especially with so much with new canon, with new comics and new books and all this, and the amount of excitement that's in what we were just talking about with Simon Pegg. That kind of fandom is alive and well again. And to celebrate that here in the heart of where a lot of Star Wars news comes from.
That's where Star Wars was born.
Correct. Yeah. That's absolutely right. And to see these schedules and to see what's out there and to know, for me, what I'm most excited about is the opening ceremony. Yeah. You start at 10 in the morning at Anaheim, and it's Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams. And they're going to do a big announcement and invite everybody. I think it says 2 hours, right? Is how it's 10 to 11, so it's an hour. Mm-hmm. I know you and I are on different opinions here, but I am feeling more and more confident that they're going to show this trailer, and that's why you bring J.J. Abrams. He's the guy you want to introduce it. He's the king of the secrets. He shows it to the world. I think he's going to show it to Celebration, and then it's going to get released. But that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. But how about you guys, John?
I have actually heard from a really, really good source that you remember a little while ago there were these rumors going around, because they've wrapped production on the film. There's these rumors going around that they're actually going to release Star Wars in July. And so remember that ridiculousness? Yeah. I actually have it on good authority. They're actually going to show the full movie at Star Wars Celebration.
You're full of it.
From 10 to 11. It's a 1 hour movie.
I wish you saw my face just then.
Full of Sith. Full of Sith.
I don't think they're going to be showing. Look, it's very, very possible. I'm not saying it's absolutely not going to happen. I don't believe they're going to show the trailer at Celebration, because I think they know they don't need to show it at Celebration. I believe they're going to show something. I don't think you're going to get JJ and Kathleen Kennedy in there and not bring some kind of treat along. Maybe it's the full trailer. Maybe it's a glimpse of the trailer. Maybe it's like a 1 minute scene. Maybe it's something. Maybe they're going to. You know what? Maybe they're just going to introduce Harrison Ford will come hobbling up on the stage.
Grumble.
And all of them come up and say, look, they're going to do something, whether it's the trailer or not. That's up for debate. One of the reasons I don't think it's going to be the trailer is because I don't think that they can hold it that long. I honestly, if they were planning on dropping the trailer that day, I'm almost going to guarantee you, because of what they did with the first trailer, when they said, we're going to first release this trailer in theaters and blah, blah, blah. Guess what they did? Like 3 hours before it hit the theater, when everybody else had already lined up and showed up to the theater, stuff like that, they released it online three hours early. I think if they are planning on dropping the trailer there, I guarantee you by the time you come out of that panel, you're going to
be on the internet. Yeah.
It'll already be on there. I think it's going to be on there before JJ ever takes the stage. But I don't think it's going to happen, because the next big window for them to drop the trailer in theater is not for
2 weeks.
2 weeks, right? They didn't even believe they could hold the trailer for 5 minutes. They didn't think they could keep the first trailer under wrap for 5 minutes, let alone 2 weeks. And I don't think they're going to jeopardize that. That's why I think, well, I hope you are right. And I will be high-fiving with you if you're right, because I hope you're right and I'm dead wrong on this. But that's why their history, their conduct up to this point, their pattern right now says that they can't do it, and they don't think they can do it. And I think that's why they're going to show us a glimpse of the trailer at it, and maybe something a little bit more. But I hope I'm dead wrong.
Ma, you're shaking your head. What do you got?
Disagree. We're going to see the OTOG. Oh, man, I was sitting on that for a while. Yeah, we're going to see the original trilogy, them. We're going to see them what they look like now in this movie. I think we're finally going to see it. We didn't see it in the teaser. We're going to see them in the trailer.
You see the big three are going to be
OTOG.
Yeah.
Standing together on screen, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know,
So how cool would that be?
Yeah. I want to
I will straight up wet myself.
Yeah,
I'm not
you
even
do
going to hide it. I will straight up wet myself.
I will be live tweeting all of it as
You
well.
should. Real quick, last week we mentioned the big three, and we've gotten some tweets. Why don't they ever mention like other characters in that big three? There's more than just the big three. Han Solo, Luke, and Leia are the three. They're the big three. Like Lando didn't come in until episode 5. Chewie, he didn't get a medal. So like they're
such a snub.
I know those are
Such a snub.
it was a big snub, but those are the big three. That's why we say that. But going back, as I agree, I think that they're going to probably show it. It was something. I don't know if they're going to have any more announcements. Maybe Kathleen Kennedy will have an announcement more about Rogue One. I don't know. You assume that
a premise? Could we see a synopsis?
maybe you get the time. I think what they're definitely going to show is the poster. I think you're going to get the poster for the movie
Of The Force Awakens?
I mean, yeah, you haven't seen any posters or anything. I mean, you
I buy that.
Yeah.
I completely buy that.
Yeah.
I think we're getting to it in Twitter questions, but we have seen a poster, I thought.
No.
The one in Japan?
Not a. It may have been a fake one.
Okay.
There has not been a legit one yet. So, are there any? Before we move on to the next story, are there any other? Because obviously that's the one we all want to see. There are a lot of other panels. I mean, one of the things I know, John, you're not a huge fan of Revenge of the Sith, but that's the one movie that I can tolerate out of the prequels, and I'm going to go watch that because the Emperor himself, Ian McDiarmid, is going to be presenting that movie. I'm going to be there for that, and as well as the Rebels season 2 premiere. Those are the ones the most that I want to be there. And I think there's a panel on what's canon right now and the story team. Obviously, I'll be there for that. But how about you guys? So, Ma, do you have anything particular that you're really excited to go see there?
I want to read a few out just to really rub it in because
yeah.
we'll be seeing those and maybe you won't be there. Oh, that's mean.
Real nice. Or you can say hi to us if you're there. We'll be there from Thursday to Sunday.
We're covering this for you, basically. So yes, the Emperor Strikes Back. Ian McDiarmid's going to be there. Am I ever getting his name right? Ian McDiarmid. Yeah, great. You've got the Untold Clone Wars with Dave Filoni and Pablo, which I think will be great because they're turning into books, which you'll hear more in a second. They're going to be covering Phantom Menace. They're going to be screening Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. No one will be there, so that's fine. Carrie Fisher's going to be there. Anthony Daniels is going to talk about C-3PO. You've also got the new allies and villains of Star Wars Rebels Season 2. That's the one I'll be at. Yeah. The global premiere of Star Wars Rebels Season 2. That's one I'm going to be at. There's a bunch there. Billy D. Williams is going to be there too.
That's awesome. There's a couple.
The Baron of Smooth.
There he is, a Baron of Smooth.
Colt 45.
There's a couple that they haven't announced yet. I know that there's talk that they're going to show Battlefront. They said that they were going to show Battlefront.
They're going to show a lot of Battlefront footage.
Right. That just hasn't been. That's not on the actual schedule yet, but that's going to happen. There's other stuff too, and then the recap on Sunday is going to be awesome because they basically show you all the big highlights from the festival will be on Sunday. And I wonder if they do show the trailer, will they show it again?
Yes.
Will they have more announcements? Will they announce new characters? Will they debut a new actor? The reason why, John, real quick, is I don't want to stay on this forever, but to go off your point as far as they don't need to show the trailer, which I agree, they don't need to. But also remember what Star Wars Celebration alone is for, and it really is a gift for the fans. This is Star Wars like Comic-Con. This is This is the Comic-Con for Star Wars. So if they're paying, if fans are paying $50, $60 a ticket daily for these things, it's the least they can do for them is to show it. I don't say they have to, but if they
I
did,
disagree. And the reason I disagree with you on that is because of everything you guys just listed off. They are giving so much to us fans.
I'm not saying they have
at
to.
the thing, right?
I'm just saying if they did.
I think the trailer, which is going to drop anyway. The
Right.
trailers, look, whether you go to Celebration or not, at some point you're going to see the new trailer.
Right.
You're going to see it. But what you can't get is all this stuff that they are giving you at Celebration.
Right.
And that's why I agree with you in the premise.
but can
that,
you
look,
get
we-
J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy give it to you on the internet? No, you have to hit play, not Kathleen Kennedy and the guy who made the movie
there
go,
is-
here you go.
But the treat to me is that JJ and Kathleen are there. That's the treat. Not that they're introducing the trailer,
Right.
that they're there
Right.
talking about Star Wars. So, like, once again, I think it's very possible you may be right. I'm still betting against it, but I think this lineup is so solid,
Yeah, it is.
from top to bottom. Phil, and look, and I agree. I believe that Revenge of the Sith is the least offensive of the prequels. I'll call it that.
Yeah.
And Ian McDiarmid has. It doesn't matter how good or bad you think the prequels are. He's
Yeah.
the emperor. He's
Right.
awesome, right?
Incredible.
I think that lineup, you've just the Rebels premiere, all that kind of stuff with Leone, the canon stuff. I'm assuming Pablo's going to be there. There's so much great stuff to be there that honestly, if I was there from day one on, and I can't because I have AMC stuff to attend to, but if I was there from day one on, honestly, the trailer would probably be the least thing of it because I knew in a couple of days I'm going to see it anyway. That's just the way.
No,
I see
I understand what you're saying, but Maud, any other final thoughts on this? Well,
Yeah, my
in
neck's
general?
a little sore, but that's
Okay.
about it.
That's it. Okay. All right. Well, then, let's move on then. That's it. I guess, right?
That is- that is all the news.
Those are
That's all the
that's the
news.
Star Wars movie news stories. Now, the next segment on this show, if this is your first time watching, is a simple segment called "What's the Deal with Canon?" And this is where we break down everything that is happening in the overall canon of Star Wars, which is what we like to say is the history books. What now is actual facts that happened in the history and the timelines in the Star Wars universe leading up to any one of the movies that you've seen, or maybe movies that we have not seen yet. But Maud, there's a couple of different stories on the canon docket today. What is the first?
The synopsis of the Asajj Ventress novel called Dark Disciple is out, and it's based on not 4, as originally thought of, but 8 unused scripts from the Clone Wars. So basically we know what it's going to be about, and that there were double the amount of episodes following this story arc, when before we thought this was all based on 4, which is kind of cool.
I love the sound of this book, and I love that we get to see more of Asajj Ventress. Now, originally, when Lupita Nyong'o was announced in the cast for Force Awakens, I said, "Oh, maybe she could play Asajj Ventress." I don't feel that's the case anymore. I used to, but I do like the idea that we get to see where her character's going. We get to hear more of it, and the fact that she gets to team up with Quinlan Vos, who is a
But one's a Sith and one's a Jedi.
She's not a Sith anymore.
Oh.
Oh wait, you're not. See, spoiler for you, because you haven't finished Clone Wars yet.
He only threw water at you.
But they have Quinlan Vos is a fascinating character because I just found this out recently. If you don't know who Quinlan Vos is and you're not caught up with the Clone Wars, if you go back and watch The Phantom Menace, if there's that scene when Jake Lloyd first walks up to first see Sebulba and he challenges him in the pod racing match. Well, when he's sitting there, there's in the background there's an extra, and he was dressed like Quinlan Vos, and Lucas saw him and said, I want to go a little bit more on that character. And they did. They put him in the Clone Wars. They developed him a lot more, and he became a really popular character. And he's just kind of this rogue Jedi who does dabble maybe a little bit on the dark side. He is more of, yesterday you were talking about how they overuse anti-hero. I think he's closer to an anti-hero than anyone else because he follows the Sith rules, but he kind of did very, very similar to what Qui-Gon almost did with when they mentioned him in the beginning, how it doesn't listen to the council as much, but younger than Qui-Gon.
But Qui-Gon is still very much collected and quite
Right, he
serious,
loses
whereas
it.
he's a
Yeah.
little bit of a scoundrel, this guy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So the idea of him and Asajj Ventress in their own novel together, I love it. And I love that they were able to continue the Clone Wars through these unfinished animations and books and comics. And this is another example of that. But now, John, you weren't a big fan of the Clone Wars series, but does this synopsis, and I know that you like Asajj Ventress, though, so does this book interest you at all?
Actually, it doesn't.
No, how come?
But take that with the grain of salt that I had real worries and hesitations about Tarkin too. And I loved Tarkin. I thought it was so good. And my anticipation level for Aftermath is so sky high right now that No, I hear about this, and I'll be honest, I don't even have a lot of interest in reading it.
Is it because of the era?
I think part of it is because of the era. Part of it, I think, is because of a really unfortunate thing in that I am so excited for Aftermath that everything else coming out right now just kind of feels like background noise to me a little bit. It's like, yeah, that's nice. Bring on Aftermath.
Yeah.
I want to read Aftermath, So I just got to be honest. And like I said, though, I was very hesitant about Tarkin, and I ended up loving that. So I will definitely give this a shot, but my anticipation level right now is kind of low.
What?
Well, I love that they always kind of fall into duos. There's two people that team up in Tarkin. It was Tarkin and Vader. Right. Usually it's a Padawan and the Master. Or
Kanan
it's
and Hera.
Exactly.
Right.
And these two are a really unlikely pairing, which I think is really cool. She's serious. She's mean. She's scathing.
And she has her hair.
She does.
Look,
she's got a mean look.
She got her hair. She didn't have hair back then. She grew her hair out.
He kind of looks like Squint with me.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Val Kilmer. No,
that's not who I thought you were. I totally got.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
No one.
You know who I saw when I look at that face? Right now he is most known for being. He was in the Full Monty. The guy, Full Monty and the Cigarette. He was just in that ABC show.
I know which one.
Not Ever After. What's it called?
He looks like
Once
Mad
Upon a Time.
Mardigan from
Carlisle,
Willow.
right? Carlisle.
Yes, that's who he looks like.
Yeah,
he looks like Mad Mardigan from Willow.
He does look like
the hair certainly does.
I'm gonna go with Maud on that. He does look. He's got like a Jim Morrison thing going on, and I think,
see both of those. I see Jim Morrison. I see Mad Mardigan. I don't quite see Val, but
he played both those characters.
I know he did.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I see that, but I don't quite
but
see him in the
actually
face.
Val, right?
Yeah.
So I think that this character is fascinating. Now the thing is, Asajj Ventress or Quinlan Vos could meet their demise in this book because this was an arc. Yeah. We don't know where they're going to go, and eventually you have to tie up some of these stories. Yeah. And if you said, Ma, this is 8 episodes, an 8-episode arc, you're going to have something happen, some kind of drama.
High.
Now, whether or not they both fall in love and then one of them dies or one of them goes away because
someone's sacrificing them for the other, calling it.
Right.
Maybe. Christian calls it. What I think's going to happen, guys. Seriously, this is what's going to happen.
Is that you in New York?
Now, what I want to know is how does Darth Plagueis fit into this? I'm sure that's what you're about to get into.
No. Who knows where Plagueis fits in? Plagueis is watching always. So I would probably have to say if anyone was going to die, it's probably going to be Quinlan Vos because I agree with you. He'll probably wind up sacrificing himself for her because where is he? Where did he go? He was a powerful Jedi. You're going to have to explain him whether or not he popped. You don't want more Jedis popping up in Rebels. You have to find out how they were eventually crapped out. So that's going to be one of them.
A point that you made though, where it's like you have to tie everything within what's canon, is that these guys are going after and trying to bring down Dooku. And we know that doesn't happen.
That's the big That's exactly right. That's the big arc of the whole story is them and her former master.
And she hates him now.
Oh, hates him, hates the Emperor, really feels slighted. The difference between what her and like Maul did, because Darth Maul just kept on the evil path and just found a new way to be evil. She just went down bounty hunter row and then said, I was going to fall in love. I'm just going to kind of disappear for a bit. Because in the original Clone Wars series, the Kangaroo Jack ones, Samurai Kangaroo Jack. Kangaroo Jack.
Hey, leave kangaroos out of this, okay?
Samurai Jack, which I'm going, those were great, really great. But they're not canon anymore because Ventress dies. Anakin kills her in the end there. So if you're ever wondering if it was indeed canon, it's not. But that's the synopsis on Dark Disciple. I'm pretty excited about it. Maud seems to be, and John might have to get one over. We shall see. Now switching over from books to comics, Maud, what's going on in the comic world?
Well, Darth Vader episode 3 has come out, and we're going to tell you what we think. And when I say we, I mean these two because I'm still halfway through 2.
Yeah. Out of all of the comic series that are out right now, which are Vader, Star Wars, and Leia. This one has been my favorite thus far. And we've talked about it 2 episodes in a row here that they have this kind of following the Walter White, Tony Soprano, follow the bad guy. This was my least favorite out of the 3. I think that the setup is there. I just feel like there was a creative meeting like, well, this has been like the darkest series. Can we have somebody throwing in some jokes here and there? And then they throw this girl in here who could be a pretty cool character. And she's definitely dabbling on the dark side. She's not a rebel. She's excited when she sees Vader and fanboys out when she sees him. But some of the way that she did fanboy was a little cheesy and a little like, we didn't need to do that. But I did love the evil C-3PO and the evil R2-D2 droids,
yeah.
BT-1 and 000.
Right. Those droids were pretty. I like how what 000 is like a poisonous.
Well, he's a
torture
homicidal C-3PO.
Right.
He's a completely homicidal C-3PO.
So that I thought was
That's
cool. I like
scary.
that. But John, you read the issue. What did you think?
I'll say this. I think it was the weakest of the Vader series so far. To me, though, that's really more of a testimony of how good I thought the first 2 issues were. And you're right. I felt a little bit like one of the writers from the Star Wars comic series came over and started dabbling in this one, which did not feel so good to me. My problem, and I unabashedly love the 2 droids, these 2 homicidal, serial killer droids. I just thought was hilarious, but unfortunately, you didn't get a lot into them in this one. My problem, oddly enough, which felt so totally out of place, because right now, what I've loved about the Vader series so far is it's gritty, it's really focusing on Vader, the silliness, and look, all Star Wars has an element of silliness to it. That's fun, but the kind of flat silliness that's in the Star Wars series right now, in the Star Wars comic series, has been absent from Vader. What has really jarred me about this 3rd issue is Dr.
The girl.
What's her name?
I don't remember.
Let's, for argument's sake, let's call her Abril. It's not Abril. It starts with an A, but for argument's sake, let's call her Abril. Abril Lavigne. Is Abril. She was a very jarring presence to me because her and the character they set up is so out of place with the tone of the rest of it. Okay, first of all, look, I mean, this picture, first of all, it looks like she's a stripper. Her face, and nothing against strippers at all, trust me. Right. But the way she's standing in her face, she's supposed to be an elite level electrobiogenetic scientist.
It's like Denise Richards in that Bond movie.
Yes, right. That's our new Dr. Christmas, who we thought only came once a year. Right. But then within the story itself, it's like you're right, she's so fangirlish around him. It's like, honestly, I was a little bit uncomfortable because it felt like she was completely sexually charged, like she wanted to jump Vader or something like that, right? And it's like, I get it, but it just felt so out of place with the rest of it so far. Look, though, the basis of who the character is could become very useful to Vader, turn into something really cool. These droids she's now brought along with them are awesome additions, I think. Yeah. Hopefully this was just a very awkward setup issue that'll launch into cooler things. But you're right. As far out of the 3, it's the weakest one so far.
Yeah, Maud, you haven't got to it yet, but so far leading up to
looks-wise, we've never seen anyone like her.
Right.
Like, you don't know if she's a pod racer or if she's an assassin or if she, like, looks-wise, you just can't pick it. And I love that. And I think I tagged you in your post, that if she was blonde, she would be my character in our Star Wars RPG tabletop game.
Right.
Yes, she would.
Yeah, right? This
she
is
would.
someone who I have imagined, and I wanted someone like this in Star Wars, and now she's here.
She could be cool. I think, John, you're right. I think if this is indeed a setup episode, and then we get, because look, Starkiller from the Force Unleashed video games, if you're not familiar with that, it was a series that went on for a little while, and Starkiller was Vader's like new apprentice that he took when he was like 6 or something. There has no one yet to serve that role. There's no one on, or if they ever will, but in Rebels, we speculated maybe Starkiller will pop up there. Who knows? Or he trained a female in the past with Ahsoka. Maybe now it's him on the dark side level, maybe training someone new on the side, and maybe he loses her too. Who knows? But what I like about the droids is it reminds me of the Old Republic. Remember HK-47?
Oh, yeah.
Meatbag and all that stuff, all that type of stuff. So to have these droids with a little more, because you see C-3PO, they are the anti-C-3PO and R2. So that part I agree I loved. But we'll see. I still love the series very much, and I want to see where they go next.
Well, with that being said, the responsibilities of running AMC Movie News have caught up with me, and I need to split. So I will leave my other 2 council members to finish off the show. Good luck with the rest of the way. May the Force be with you all.
Can we call in our special guest?
Who's
our special guest?
Let's listen. I need a seat filler.
Yeah, we need a seat filler.
Bring in the seat filler. I knew we kept him around for something.
All right. So bringing to the table our special, taking over for Obi-Wan Kenobi. this type of stuff will happen in the universe. Please bring to the stage Mr. Mark Ellis.
What's your name going to be?
Well done. How are you, sir?
You guys do a good little production.
Thank you.
I
Like the show.
all the names.
Yeah, what are you going to be?
I have no idea.
You have to think about it. Well, he's on the spot.
Somebody
All right.
comment. What should my name
Asajj
be?
Ellis?
Asajj Ellis?
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nah, girl, nah.
All right. So
Are you a Jedi or a Sith?
I'm totally a Jedi. I'm a good guy. Unlike Christian, I root for the people to survive the movie. So,
well, that's not fun. Moving on from the comic books here, let's get into the video games. There was some video game news here, Maud. So what's the latest?
Well, rumor has it that the abandoned video game Star Wars 1313, which was centered around Boba Fett, could actually be getting the breath of life from Visceral Games. When LucasArts was, the whole deal went down in April 2013, LucasArts video games kind of all were left in the lurch, and everyone that was working on it was like, well, what do we do now? We do know that DICE is taking over for Battlefront, so that's in EA. So EA is going to be doing that one. It's going to come out at the end of the year. But there were still other concepts like 1313 that were being worked on that were just completely left in the lurch. What they're trying to say in this particular article / rumor is that there is people working for Naughty Dog's Uncharted series, and the people who worked on that and have left, and they're working with Visceral Games on an unnamed project. And it just so happens that aesthetically, the way that an Uncharted game looks very, very similar to how 1313 looks. So it makes sense to get developers doing that kind of jump over. We also know that BioWare is working on a Canon game as well. So there's 3 facets of EA, and all 3 of them are working on 1, if not 2, Star Wars games.
I love this news because, look, 1313, going back to what you said before, Maud, in regards to how there's definitely been materials that have been geared towards younger Star Wars fans, because even though we all love Rebels, it's geared towards kids. I mean, it's put on Disney XD.
It is,
1313 was like the rated R type game, and it was going to be in the bounty hunter world. And I think
it's a third person shooter.
Yeah, and
adventure action game. Yeah,
and it was developed. And people were raving about it already. It hadn't been released, and then the deal comes, and then sorry, it doesn't fit with Canon anymore. It doesn't work. But to be able to take elements of that game and the technology and what they wanted to do, and showing that they're going to continue doing for all ages and all series, and eventually, you're going to get another video game besides Battlefront. So the question is, what's the game? And Mark, do you like the sound of this? Do you like what kind of video games would you like to see in the Star Wars world?
Well, I would love to see a game like this where you get to be you're in the bounty hunter universe a little more, and Boba Fett is one of those characters that everybody glommed onto. He's in the movie for like a total of 17 seconds is when he shows up in the original trilogy. However, getting to be him and getting to go on a bounty hunter adventure, that's an amazing prospect for a video game.
I'm going to break your heart because they're not actually going with the original concept of the game.
Yeah, they're not going to bring Boba. I don't think they're going to bring Boba Fett.
Not going to be sent around.
Not even Boba Fett necessarily that
hunter,
dude, but to be a bounty hunter in that universe, because bounty hunter isn't. It always gets it's a negative connotation, because what we saw bounty hunters try to kill Han Solo and try to bring him back to Jabba the Hutt, but a bounty hunter isn't necessarily. It's a job. You're a sole proprietor. You're an individual. You're just working for a buck. It could be a fun way to play a video game.
I agree. I think to see that darker element of the Star Wars universe, which was also that original series that was going to be like Battlestar Galactica, was supposed to be, like you said, it was supposed to tie into it. So to be able to have that kind of feel in the Star Wars universe in the game world, because the game world you can in the books, where you can go darker, because like you said with New Dawn, even though you didn't love the book, it gets dark at points. They couldn't put some of that stuff on TV, not on Disney anyway. And that's the kind of freedom you have in the games as well. So that excites me that the fans that were looking forward to 1313.
There's still hope, a new hope.
Yeah.
But they're doing a young Han Solo instead. So I think they're going to go the scoundrel route. But he is still a smuggler.
He's in that route. Yeah, it depends on what timeline it is too. Yeah,
that's true. Having a look at the footage of it, I have a sneeze caught in my nose, and I'm so scared what's about to happen.
I can't wait.
So
that's going to be exciting
let's bet.
for everybody.
Let's bet. What do you think? Is it going to be like a laser shot, or is it going to be like a bantha?
There's going to be a lot of green, and it's going to look like the trash compactor.
Let it rip. Let it rip.
We're going to get a whole lot skinnier, that's for sure.
You know what's interesting about a young Han Solo, though, is that Han Solo now is such a hero in the universe. Like, we love Han Solo. That dude did some... Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of questionable things.
First. He shot Greedo.
He was a smuggler. He probably ran some drugs for some nefarious people. He probably had a lot of late nights that the kids don't want to know about. A young Han Solo is a very cool idea.
It is.
And flicks a coin saying, sorry about the mess.
Yeah, he's a cowboy, man.
How great. One last thing I do want to say about this game, though, is this is for a gamer's perspective, we've had Mass Effect 1 through to 3, and BioWare was working on that one. Visceral still do a mean game. It's probably going to be a little bit more shooter with a storyline based on it. I want to see another I want this to be borrowing from Mass Effect a little bit, because I need my fix of a sci-fi good third-person shooter.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm ready. My body is ready for your third.
As are we. I'm sure that the game world, Star Wars video games in the past have been fantastic. There've been some hits, there've been some misses, but when they hit, they really hit hard.
I love me some Dark Forces.
Oh man, I love me some Knights of the Republic. And that brings us to our next category on Jedi Council, and that is Address the Council. Now, what we do here every week is someone on the council will address the council with a topic that's been in their mind in the Star Wars universe. Mark Maul. Mark Maul's decent.
You know what?
Sounds like a basketball player on the bench.
Sorry, and I interrupted you as well.
Mark Maul's the coach's kid.
Yeah.
10th guy off the bench.
Sorry.
But so every week, one of us takes an issue that we want to talk to with the council and address the council here and the council there. This week, I will be addressing the council. Last week was John, and the week before was Maud. So I'm going to just let you guys know what I want to speak about, and that is the fact that I believe that the Old Republic should, in fact, be canonized. It needs to be in some shape or form. Maud was just talking about BioWare. BioWare created the Knights of the Old Republic, and the game came out in like 2003, and it had, next to Empire Strikes Back, is one of my favorite Star Wars stories of all time. It created characters in Darth Revan and in Darth Malak and Bastila, and all of these characters that if you play this series, you keep up and you're invested. I have it on my phone now. 12 years later, I still play it, and I'm still as invested as I was back then. It's because the writers had such a great hold on what happened years and years before the trilogy that we all know and love. There was another game, as far as the Old Republic, that came out that continued the lore. If you saw those trailers with the Sith Army and the Jedi Army, we want to see the Sith Army. Star Wars 7 News did a great article actually about this today. When I knew I was going to talk about this, and I saw they put it out. At whether the TV show is focusing on it, more books. Somehow you have to let us know now in this new canon what is in fact the deal, because 5,000 years was originally what Revan took place before Episode 4. It was 5,000 years before, something along those lines. I don't think you need that, because the question is, how did the technology really happen? And like, we know Darth Bane from the Clone Wars series is canon. He's part of the Old Republic for about 1,000 years. I think with the introduction of Star Wars 7, 8, and 9, you can introduce history. You can introduce, I still think Kylo Ren is going to be a relic hunter. I think he's going to find old things from the past, and I think that's a way to set it up through books, through comics, through video games, and eventually through this, what they proposed in this article on Star Wars 7 News was a trilogy of movies in the Old Republic. That's what I think should happen. Don't you want to see a Sith army versus a Jedi army? How it all began? Because remember what Darth Maul says in Episode 1. He says, "At last, the Sith will have a revenge." What revenge? What caused the revenge? So for what? So that's what I want to see.
What are you so upset about?
Yeah. Why? What happened to the Sith?
That.
How did the Rule of Two start? Darth Bane tells Yoda in that temple. So there's so much rich history, and that's why I disagreed with that television argument with John. Is because the Old Republic is a place it should be tapped into. There's so much there. That is why I'm addressing the council, other council members.
Spoken to the council on this one. Look, I think that they should not ignore the Old Republic. I don't think they should say, well, that was fun. Let's start from scratch. There are brief mentions of it. One of my favorite parts of Revenge of the Sith with
Like Ben Mendelsohn.
Sith. Yeah. Was I know that someone's thinking about that hashtag. Someone's going to do it. I just know they're going to do it. It's every time I do a tongue twister, I try and say this word, but I can't say it anymore, guys, because I'm a lady. What they mentioned Plagueis. There's
your tip jar.
Yeah. They finally mentioned that there is history and that there is mythology as well. And I think that if we're going so far forward, why not go so far back?
Right.
Do I think that they should block it out and now it's like, you're canon? No, I think they should borrow from it. And I think that there's room to improve.
I agree.
And I think this whole 5,000 years ago, but if you're based in technology, so much can happen in 5,000 years. That just doesn't seem feasible.
I totally agree with you. Absolutely.
I want to see the movie where you're the small town lawyer and you go against the actual people deciding what's canon and what's not canon, and you get to present your case in front of the Supreme Court, because that was phenomenal.
Thanks.
That was a great job. Now, my question to you is, they had these meetings, though.
Yeah.
Right? And they said, okay, we want this to be canon. We don't want this to be canon. You did a video when the first trailer came out.
Right.
What is canon? What's not canon? So what would possibly compel them to say 6 months ago, no, we're not going to make the Old Republic canon?
No, that's not what they said,
And then have
though.
them say that it is now.
They didn't. Well, the first thing that they said in that announcement was that everything for sure after episode 6 and on, they weren't continuing it. They never really ever mentioned the Old Republic in general, but what they will do, because the Old Republic is mentioned in the Clone Wars.
Because the more pressing issue is that there were books and novels and comic books and video games that took place
in the
after
Old Republic.
Return of the
But
Jedi.
that's all this.
Yeah.
Any books that came out, anything that came out before, even if it was in the Old Republic, it's not canon. Those books. But
the characters and stuff.
correct.
Yeah.
But the Old Republic itself was mentioned in the Clone Wars. There's one particular scene where they bring up the 1,000 years or whatever, how many years it was before in the Old Republic. I can't. In one Mandalorian when he's fighting Obi-Wan brings it up, and Bane himself is an Old Republic character from years ago in the rules too. So the era itself is in fact canon. It's just the stories and the history. And now they can, like Maud said, you can develop on it more. You can make it, you can really start to see if you can get people as invested. And maybe BioWare's doing a new Old Republic game. Who knows?
And I would love to see it. I'd rather play that game because they've done it before and it's worked so well. Knights of the Old Republic 2 wasn't as good as 1, but it's a great game. And that's how I love to understand away from familiar faces and characters that we know. I don't want to even think about Vader when I'm playing
You
Knights
don't
of the
need
Old Republic.
Yeah.
And I love taking that path. And the best thing about a video game is being able to choose between the light side and the dark side. That's another conversation, and I've already missed my boat for that one.
Well, we got to ask the council out there. Do you guys want to see the Old Republic, in fact, be canon? Comment below and tell us what you think. Have you ever even heard of it before today? Do you want to learn more about it? Comment and tell us exactly why or why not you think the Old Republic should be canon. Now,
and are there any characters from the Old Republic that you think should be canonized?
Great question.
Which story, which part of Old Republic did you love so much that you want to see it be legitimized?
all right. Now, speaking of you guys, this is the portion of the show. It is Twitter time. You guys have sent in your questions throughout the week and hashtagged it AMC Jedi Council. That's right. It is a short time in a tweet far, far away where you guys get to ask us questions and we are going to answer as the council. So, Maud, we have a few of them. What is the first one up there now? I know that it's going to be about the particular.
Yes. Well, our tweets, our Twitter accounts got an onslaught over the last few days. To summarize, it was basically like, oh my God, have you seen this latest anime thing in the TIE Fighter? Because that's the reaction that I had after I'd watched it. But we had one person in particular wanted to write up about this one. Can you put the Twitter up because I don't have it and I'd like to read it. There it is. Soulbro Ryu. Oh, yes. Hadouken says, I'm probably the 100,000th person, not wearing my glasses, to ask, but what are your thoughts on this TIE Fighter short? I think basically this is the best thing.
I know. I didn't even talk to Ellis about it yet, but I can guarantee I know what you liked about it the most.
Oh, the music.
You loved the music.
Oh my God, it was great.
Did you love it in general?
Just rocking guitar,
Yeah.
and I love the fact that it was told from the Empire perspective. You get to see again, these guys. They're just doing a gig. They got hired by somebody.
Yeah.
Are we evil? Yeah, some people think we're evil. We got these annoying, pesky rebels. They keep attacking us. We're gonna shut them down. This guy gets in his TIE Fighter. He turns up his FM radio to the classic rock station, and it's just an all-out war for 7 minutes. It was brilliant, and it was a fan-made thing.
Yeah.
One dude did all that animation. That's incredible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I loved it as well, and it was nice to see that side to where, because mostly the times, every time you see Imperial people, right, they can't shoot worth a lick. They're
horrible.
They're horrible, but these guys, you don't want to mess with. They wipe out everybody, and it looks like R2D2 gets wiped out. In this,
it's an
particular one.
He survived
you don't know what that exactly was. Maybe from that guy's vision is that's the alternate universe where R2 died. Who knows? But nonetheless, it was phenomenal to see, and it also gives me hope to see that we're going to see more. One of the most fun things when we didn't have an announcement that Disney had bought Star Wars. I would get my Star Wars stuff besides from like novels and stuff. I would go to YouTube and I would check out all the fan made films and stuff because people have great imaginations and great love for this project. This is a clear example of that. Even though we have all this other stuff, to see that the fans still able to do it, I hope this guy gets a job because I want to see him working on
It's
stuff.
an animation style that I hadn't seen in the Star Wars universe before, and I'm fine with all the more computer Pixar-y, Toy Story looking things that the Clone Wars are, and the Rebels is too. But seeing that kind of style of animation, Christian, you brought it up when we were eating lunch. It's like that cartoon should have come on before G.I. Joe when we were kids, and that would have hooked us even more than that or Transformers did.
All right, so moving on, what is the next? Do you have something else? Yeah, what you got?
I love the fusion of anime style with Star Wars, like we were saying. We've never seen it before. And seeing the interpretation of not only what the TIE fighters look like, but I started going, what would the moon of Endor look like? What would the Ewoks look like? Would they look like Pokemon? Like, I wanted to see more and more and more of this. And it was just 7 minutes from one perspective. But something that I thought was really, really clever was how it kind of went into a transparent look under the helmet. So for the first time, the helmet came off and you were able to connect with the TIE fighter pilot, the TIE bomber pilot, and she looked cool, and the TIE interceptor. TIE fighter, bomber, interceptor.
It's a great point because it's even when you watch if you watch even the Clone Wars, which I really like the series, but those droids, Roger, there's nothing there to them. You don't feel, but when the TIE fighter guys, even though they're evil, but they're humans. So you're just like, when they die, you're just like,
he probably felt bad. He was probably like a cop. He got home from his shift. His wife's giving him crap about the kid, and he's like, "I had to shoot 3 droids today."
Vader breathing down my neck. All right, let's get to the next question.
We've got one from Thomas Bergstrom who says, "Do you think that Kylo Ren will be associated with the stormtroopers which are seen in the trailer?"
No, I think that it is a misconception to think that the Sith are always associated with the Empire. I remember that Palpatine was a politician. It was just because he was playing in his game and he was able to use that game to further the Sith along because he's a Sith. He was in politics. He was able to turn it into the Empire because that was his game. The Sith don't care overall about this particular politics and this empire. Let them create their own empire, like we just talked about the Old Republic. They had a Sith army. Let's see that back. Let's see if it is. I'll get my tip jar ready. If it is Darth Plagueis.
There it is. Okay, so we've got this thing that we're going to introduce because Christian can't stop talking about Darth Plagueis. He now has to pay to play Gus. So every time he brings up Plagueis, he's got to put $1 in the stormtrooper head.
It's fine.
And then dinner will be on
the show.
That's just on the show.
Like in
I will carry this around.
So that who knows if Plagueis indeed sets that up? But I do not think that Ren will be associated with the stormtroopers. But Maude, what do you think?
I don't like to speculate on these things. I'd rather just watch the movie in this particular case. It's just like, will it? Won't it? Will it affect it?
All right, Mark.
I'm not going to cop out. I'll have an answer. I think that you made a great argument. I can't counter that argument you just made, but just from my experience loving the movies, I think he's going to have something to do. I think that you get on a power trip when you have that much potential, and I think that you're going to try to use those stormtroopers. Those stormtroopers look so cool that I think that anybody who's trying to gain any sort of advantage against somebody else is going to try to use them.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what about you guys? Do you guys think that Kylo Ren will be associated with the stormtroopers? Comment and tell us what you think. What is the next Twitter question? Amodala.
It is from Shane Clifford, who says, it's early, but do you think, I think I wrote it down wrong, but do you think in season 2 of Rebels, Rogue One might be one of the cells introduced?
It's a good question. If it happens, it'll probably be towards the end of the season because it could make sense if the season 2 or season 3, I guess. Season 3 will be ending right around the time. It would probably be season 3. It probably wouldn't be season 2. Because season 3 will be ending right around the time that Rogue One comes out. So if it was going to be a season, I would say it would make more sense to do it in season 3.
As far as this question goes, Shane, I hate to quote Hook, but I like it. I like it. I would love to see this happen. I think this is a great prediction. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see this come
in season 2.
Will it happen in season 2? It is early. I do think it is early. But we don't really know what Rogue One is. We still have no idea.
You're absolutely right.
But is it a really cool Easter egg?
Yeah.
The fact that it's a cell of the Republic, the Rebels was great. I think I love it.
And if nothing else, that's all you really need to goose the fans. Like, imagine if we go to Star Wars Celebration, which I'll be at too, and we're watching that. They're going to premiere Star Wars Rebels season 2 that first episode.
Yep.
What if that place is going to go crazy?
Right.
If they just say, "Oh, that's Rogue One," it's
you're
like,
right.
"Oh, my buddy, he's over in Rogue One." That place is going to be electric.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good point. Okay, moving on.
Brian Blog Star Wars says, when will we get the teaser poster for The Force Awakens?
Well, we said it earlier today. I think Celebration.
Right. I
Poster too?
The poster,
Not just the trailer?
No, I think the poster is going to celebration.
I swear there was someone in Japan that was putting up Force Awakens posters. And then someone took a photo of it going, wow, this is really underwhelming, because it was mainly just a black picture with the Force Awakens in Star Wars writing.
Yeah, I think
and
it was,
maybe an
I don't
X-Wing.
think it was real.
Yeah, well, someone was plastering them all around the city. But if you say that it hasn't happened,
There's a Rogue One that's going around Japan, putting up posters.
This is
I
Rogue
think
One?
I love that fan one that I saw that was just the desert, like Tatooine, and then a lightsaber sticking in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Like, oh, we found something. But yeah, I think you'll probably get it at Celebration. And I would even go so far as to say that they will unveil the poster. I think that's more of a guarantee, iron lock, that they unveil the poster at Celebration more so than the trailer. But I also think the trailer is going to be at Celebration.
yeah, maybe that's what'll happen. They'll just do the poster instead, and then they'll be like, and
I
that's
think
all.
they'll show the
But
poster, and then they're going to rope it. They're going to be like, all right, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, we'll show you the trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Okay, so last question, I believe.
Final question here is from Harry Villela, who says, if you could choose the next Star Wars movie, book or cartoon, what would it be? For me, it would be The Knights of the Old Republic.
Nice.
Yes.
Is that Christian's?
That was me. That's
Yeah.
my other handle. Yeah. Well, because you took Knights of the Republic, I'll give you one that I want to see a novel of the last days of Alderaan. I think that would be very interesting to see the politics that was happening, the movement that was going on in Rebellion, who was there, what happened, like, out of the characters that we have been introduced to in comics and stuff, who eventually wound up there. And if we know that they indeed perished there, how did it happen? Like, what was happening during that? Like, where was Bail Organa at the time that it blew up? Like, all that stuff, I think would be kind of a fascinating novel. But Ma, do you have
I've had a long think about this. We've never really seen, apart from one video game, but we've never really seen what it's like to become a Jedi. You kind of see where it is from when you're a Padawan, but if they're taken away when they're babies,
Right.
The whole Jedi Academy. My favorite part of A New Dawn was when Caleb was in school. And I just think that it would be really cool to have maybe a young adult book series based around young Jedis, like a Harry Potter. Like, it's instead of Hogwarts, it's the Jedi Academy.
Right.
That would be super. I want to know how they learn these skills. Learning about the solar systems, learning about how to intune your inner Jedi and the midichlorians, but how it all works. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that you sold me on the Knights of the Old Republic, and that tweet reaffirms it. I'd like to see something, because I'm just so less familiar with all those characters than I am from the movies. So I think that'd be something that it almost feel like a brand new thing to me,
Yeah.
And I also want to see Martin Scorsese direct a Jabba the Hutt film.
nice.
I want it to be gangster style. I want to hang out at Jabba's palace, see what goes on there late night.
All right, well, that's it. That is episode 3 of Jedi Council. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to thank our filler today. Look who came off the bench and shot a 3. Star filler.
I got it in the end.
Well done.
Thank God.
Star filler. Well done. Nothing you can do. All right, Star filler. Let the people know, where can they find you online?
You can find me at Starfiller on Instagram and Twitter. At 5150 Ellis on Twitter and Instagram. And I'll be at the Comedy Store this Saturday. Go.
Okay, and Queen Amidala, she's back. She's out of retirement. Where can the people of the Jedi Council find you?
You can talk Star Wars with me at Maud Garrett. I'm on Instagram. I have my cool new X-Wing. Oh, that was not good of me. X-Wing jumpers on there, so check that out, because my booty's in it too, apparently. And also, I've got Knights of the Old Republic on my computer right now,
Excellent.
and I can't defeat
Malik?
I can't do it because
you
I
told me
never
you
got
did.
any of the Force
Right, you messed
defense
up.
powers.
Yeah.
I really stuffed it up until now, so can you help me finish it?
Yes.
Yes.
And for me, I am at Christian Harloff on both Twitter and Instagram. Make sure that you hashtag AMC Jedi Council. Ask all your questions so you can get one on the air next week. And for John Campea as well, follow him at John Campea. Check out AMC Movie Talk. And for the whole crew, may the Force be with you.